Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. Today is the 3rd of February 2016, and this is episode 65. We're going to go down the panel of fine-looking faces here. I think Bradley's the only person on, live today. I had some issues with my camera, so you guys have to stare at the speaking head. So, Chris, how's it going, man?
Hello, champions.
I like it. Sorry, Hernan, how's it going?
Hey everyone, it's really good to be here.
Marco, what's up?
Hey man, what's up? I'm bored with all this sun and warm.
You're bored with all the sun, you jerk?
Oh, dude, every day it's the same. 80 degrees during the day, 60 at night.
Oh, it's terrible. You poor soul, you.
I know, man.
I pity you, Marco.
Last but not least, Bradley, how's it going?
Hey guys, I'm bored with the cold and the rain and the snow and all the other shit that we have on the East Coast right now. So
I've been having a crazy winter up here. We really haven't had any. It's like 45 today, which is bizarre. Usually we've got like 3 feet of snow in the yard. So, but anyways, spare you guys that and just run through some quick announcements before we get this started today. I just want to remind you guys, if you haven't yet, head over to SERPspace. I'll pop the link in here. Again, it's a free account. You can sign up, and obviously that's where we've kind of moved networks over to, and we're in the process of opening up some more services very soon. So stay tuned for that. In just less than 1 month, we're going to be launching IFTTT 2.0. So that is for sure now. We're going to be getting some more information out to everybody about that. We're pretty pumped about that for a lot of reasons. It's going to have a lot of cool info. There's going to be, I'm not going to say too much about it here, but we'll have some more info for you shortly. And also, if you've been thinking about the masterclass, but you're not sure, you're on the borderline, I suggest, again, hopping in there. The masterclass, we've reformatted it. We're going to be increasing the price just due to it's going to have a compressed timeline. You're going to get the classes faster, and that's going to be kind of coinciding with IFTTT version 2.0. So you're going to want to jump in there sooner rather than later.
yeah, and just to be clear, what we're doing is we're restructuring our funnels to where essentially IFTTT is going to be the front end product, IFTTT version 2, and then which will be subscription based. There will be an option to just do a one-time purchase on that that won't come with some of the additional benefits that IFTTT version 2. Again, we're not going to get into all the details of that just yet. Those are forthcoming, but it will be subscription based if you want some of the additional features that we're going to include with that. And so that's going to be like the front end or the first step, and then there's going to be the master class, which is going to include IFTTT version 2 plus the subscription. In other words, it's going to be like a step system, a tiered system. So a master class is going to go up slightly, by $50, so it'll be $147 a month when we launch IFTTT v2. And then obviously our mastermind, which is our top level, that includes both IFTTT version 2 as well as master class plus all of our other products worth under $300 and a 30% discount on anything above that. So that's really our top tier. So really it's just going to be like a tiered system, IFTTT version 1 being tier 1, masterclass being tier 2, and mastermind being tier 3 or our top tier. So just kind of wanted to explain that a little bit better. Do we have anything else, Adam?
That's all I've got on my end. You guys got anything?
We're good?
No, I think we're good. We got a lot of questions today.
Yeah,
so
let's get to it.
All right, well, I'm going to grab the screen, and we'll jump right into it. Let's just grab the Google screen today, so it makes it a little easier for you guys to see everything, I think. All right, here we go. Starting right at the bottom with Mark O'Connell. He says, hey, guys, hope you're doing great. Got a very exciting question about images for you. Can you over-optimize images on your money site with keywords and geotagging and stuff like that? And do you geotag the images you use for your citation sites, Google My Business pages, branded networks, etc., plus having the site name in the metadata of the images as well? Is that too much? Mark, not if you're using, yes, I optimize the metadata of the images, especially for local stuff. Then, yeah, we'll use like an EXIF data, editing tool. Like I use GeoSetter. That's something I use, but you can do a lot of that stuff actually on your own, just by right-clicking details and checking, details and in properties of the file itself. If it's a JPEG, if it's a PNG, you can't do that stuff. But yeah, like I'll add metadata in there and the coordinates as EXIF data, that kind of thing. But what I'll do is I'll use various keywords instead of just like using the same keyword over and over again. So I'll use, whenever I'll have keyword research done at that point anyways, right? So I'll take a handful of my LSI keywords or supporting keywords and just use those across various images. And so, for example, if you've got, you've got the file name itself, which is typically going to be some sort of a keyword. One of the other things I don't recommend doing is always putting the geo modifier in there, like if you're doing local. Like, go with more of the broad, like topical type keywords now. And so you kind of follow the same, in my opinion, and this is the way I do it, and I'll let the other guys chime in here in a moment as well, but what I like to do is kind of follow the same type of like anchor text strategy that I would use. So it used to be where we would use the exact match keyword across all the images, put it in the description, the title of the image. So there's the file name, then there's the title, then there's the tags, the description, then you can have like the author URL, the I can't remember all of them without actually opening it up, but I would put the exact match keyword in there, or one of my exact match keywords with the geo modifier. So like if I was targeting 5 main keywords, I would use those 5 main keywords with the geo modifiers across the various fields of the images. I don't do that now because it's almost like over optimizing anchor text profile of inbound links. So instead, what I'll do is maybe the file name itself, or the URL, either the file name or the title, will be an exact match keyword, but then all of the other metadata details that I add will be broader keywords. They might be related keywords, but they don't typically have the geo modifier, especially if I'm adding the coordinates as EXIF data, right? So if I'm adding the coordinates, then I don't think it's necessary to add like the city name, for example, across all the keywords. One other thing I like to do is in the comments section of the metadata, I like to put the NAP of the site itself, so, or of the business itself, and that's, again, I'm talking about local guys, but if you're doing, because he mentioned Google My Business pages, but you can do the same thing with non-local stuff by still optimizing the images. To further to answer the rest of the question, do I use the images for citation sites? Yes, and here's why. Because typically the images that I'm going to add to the Google My Business pages are going to be from the website anyways, so they're already been geotagged and optimized. And then what I'll do is I'll use the same images from the Google My Business pages across my other citation sites. So yes, they will already be tagged. Okay. As far as like images within blog posts, now typically I don't do that within the blog post because I have my VAs that are doing the blogging, and so I haven't trained them to do that with like blog posting, so those don't really get syndicated out across the networks. I assume that would help too, but again, I think that's just a little bit overkill. I do the images for the pages themselves, optimize those, but when it comes to blogging, I typically do not. You want to add to that, Hernan, or anybody else?
Yeah, I use pretty much the same process that you use, Bradley. What's good about it is that you could actually get your images ranking on Google Images. So if you have a call to action on your image, you can turn that into another asset. So I think that's pretty interesting. You could also get, that's a way of. I think that Google images searches, or image recognition engine right now, it's intelligent enough to see similarities between images. It's not like you can actually fool Google, because if you search by images, when you search for a face, it will come back with the same faces, with that image wherever it is online in Google's database. So I don't think you can fool it, but you can add some extra information to that image as well. So I pretty much use the same process as you're doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that absolutely helps. I mean, again, I do that for pages on the site, for images that go on pages, and then I'll end up using those images as part of my images for the Google My Business page, as well as for other citation sites. And that's typically all I will do. Is the blogging, I do not. It probably would help, but I think at some point it would be overkill, and it's just additional time. There's like a, what is it, the law of diminishing returns. So, and at some point you're going to run out of keywords anyways. So, Glenn says, what's your take on altering YouTube video titles, descriptions, tags, or links after they've ranked well? Does Google hate minor tweaks or monetization efforts after the fact? No, not actually, Glenn. It depends. I mean, like, I've made changes before, and sometimes just making changes like not so much the titles. Don't get me wrong, I've done that too. So we'll talk about a couple different scenarios that I've done that I've had and the results of those changes. Sometimes changing the description it's almost like a blog post, like older content, evergreen content, but you add some new content to the bottom of the post and kind of refreshes it, makes it fresh again. Can actually give it a little bit of a ranking boost. So I've done that before where I've just added some additional content to the description area, or changed out some content that was perhaps over-optimized a bit to kind of de-optimize it, which makes it newer content anyways because it's been, the content's been swapped out or changed out. So that I've had work well. I've been able to, take a video that had been slipping, losing its rank or dropping, and then bring it back up that way. That among other things, but I've done that, to bring it back. So that's one thing that you can do. Changing the links, the internal links, like linking to other YouTube videos, for example, if you're using the YouTube silo, or changing the internal links to click to to a different website or whatever. I've never seen that have any really effect, either negative or positive. So I've never experienced that changing anything as far as the actual links themselves. Titles, I would recommend with titles that's a bit different because it depends on how drastic of a change it is. If your title is an exact match keyword and you're ranking for that, and you change your title to something other than what that exact match keyword is, chances are it's going to drop. Right. And it might resurface with the new keyword at some point to to rank for that. But again, if you're changing the YouTube titles, that's pretty much the most significant thing for ranking for a YouTube video is the title itself. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, tags. Yeah, tags. Usually for tags, I'll use the exact match keyword as the first tag, and then I'll take the keyword itself. A lot of the times it's with the geo modifier, for example, if I'm doing local, and I will separate it out. So it'll be like keyword plus city, right? Or city plus keyword will be my first tag because that's the exact match keyword I'm trying to rank for. Well, then I'll do just a keyword tag, then just the city tag. Then I'll do a couple LSI keywords. So if I'm going to change the tags at a later date, then a lot of the times I'm not messing with the original tags that I had already set. I'm just adding some additional tags. So.
Yep. Yeah, and you make a great point there, Bradley. I think that the best way to go when you're trying to rank videos is to make them generic enough in a way that you can still reap the benefits. For example, if you listen it, you can still reap the benefits from the video once it's ranked. So you need to make the least amount of changes to it once it's ranked as possible. So, for example, if you're adding, I know that we are not advising to do that anymore, but if you were adding the client's phone number on the video itself, you'll need to edit that. That's why we're saying, add a tracking number so that you can redirect that tracking number. The same with links, so that the least amount of modifications that you make to the video once it's ranked and it has been ranked for a while, the better, in my opinion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, making small changes in the description area, I haven't seen a lot of negative effects out of. In fact, like I said, I've done that in the past to get a positive effect when I've had something that was ranking well and then started to slip. So, but as far as titles, I don't like to mess with the titles personally. Tags, like I said, I don't like to mess with the tags other than potentially adding some new tags to what was already there. But in the description area, that's like Hernan said, one of the things I like to do is set up a redirect URL as my URL within the description area, so that if I need to change the destination, I can change the destination through the redirect itself and not actually changing it from within the description itself. And that's beneficial for protecting your own assets anyways. So, but play with it, Glenn. I mean, that's something that you could do some testing on, and you could set up rank a video for an insignificant keyword, maybe one that really has no value, but you could use it for testing purposes. Rank a video for some obscure keyword, and then start changing some things around one at a time, and give it a few days, monitor it, and see what kind of effect it has. That would be a good test to set up, so that you have a better idea of how it's going to behave. Also wondering, do long-standing well-click videos on page 1 tend to move from exact to broader match queries if they stand the test of time? Not real sure, Glenn. My assumption would be yes, but I don't have any hard data for that. So, yeah, no, I don't have any hard data for that to prove it one way or the other. I would assume that if it's done very well for an exact match query and it's been like, stuck at #1 for months at a time, it may very well rank for other keywords. That's something that you want to test and check. But that's why, having a well optimized description is important, because you can rank for multiple keywords if you have them in the description area without spamming it. Okay, that's where tags come in as well. So, Kevin says, "Hey guys, I have a question about Twitter. My Twitter account gets..." We've got a lot of questions about Twitter today. We've had a lot of questions about Twitter this week. Period. So, you know what we're going to tell you. Go get Twitter SEO Academy. Hint, drop the link, Adam. Hey guys, I have a question about Twitter. My Twitter account gets a lot of retweets, and my retweets, a lot of retweets of my retweets, okay, but not really any for when I post my own content, blog posts, money site pages, etc. I'm curious if I can add a shortened URL of my money page into my IFTTT recipe so that when my retweets of other people's content get retweeted by my followers, usually 3 to 10 retweets and faves, there will be a link to my money site kind of hiding in there. Is this okay? Does Google see this as my money site getting social shares, thus giving activity authority, etc. back to my money site? Thanks. That's a question that I would defer to Marco or Dr. Gary if he's on, because he's their Twitter ninja. So, Marco, what do you think?
What I'm looking to see is there would have to actually be an activity on that link that he is retweeting, right? Because his recipe is just the recipe for his retweet. Now, if someone were to retweet that one, then yeah, that would be a social share on something that he retweeted that got retweeted, right?
Okay.
And so, yeah, he could set this up. I wouldn't try it on anything I cared about. I mean, you know what we're about. We're about testing. I was just talking to someone earlier today on how I got a Twitter account to 23 topical trust flow in a week, all on auto. This is just autopilot. I haven't done anything. I just set up the retweets and everything else that we do, all the recipes, and just let it go. And it's out of the sandbox. It's retweeting like crazy. It's 500 tweets a day, all on auto, and it just builds up authority. Pretty soon, it's going to be someone that's really relevant in Twitter, and I haven't really done anything. And you could do the same thing. Once you get to that level, then you'll have people naturally retweeting your own tweets. But the reason why we do the retweet recipes and everything else that we do is to get you to that level where other people start taking you into account as someone that's a mover and a shaker and a trendsetter and inside Twitter.
Right. So the question though remains, if hard coding, for example, a short URL, and I'm just going to use a Google short link, for example, because that kind of injects analytics into that link itself. And so that every time a retweet occurs from Kevin's account, because of his recipes set up to retweet on specific hashtags or whatever, it's going to actually retweet that Google short URL as well, because it's been hard-coded into the retweet text, right?
If he uses the Google, see, I don't want to get too much, I don't want to give away too much, but if he does what we say to do inside Twitter SEO Academy, then not only is that going to be taken into account as a social share, but it's where the magic happens, right? With that shortened URL,
right.
And how you can pass all kinds of juice onto other properties back to your money site or direct or wherever you want.
So what I would suggest, Kevin, is as Margaret just said, I would test that again. Guys, sometimes my answer is going to be tested, just like I said to Glenn. Because we haven't tested everything, obviously. This would be a worthy test, in my opinion, Kevin. That would give you some insight as to what kind of influence you can generate from your Twitter account, and what kind of effect it will have on your metrics, like your trust flow metrics and things like that. But instead of doing a short URL to your money site to start with, take something like one of your branded Tumblr profile, your branded Tumblr account, or something that's connected to your money site. Shorten that URL, preferably with a goo.gl short link, and then set up your, hard code that into the retweet, just like you mentioned, and let it run for a couple days, a couple weeks, whatever, and then monitor the effects of your Tumblr profile. Look at it at Majestic. Perhaps log back into your Google short URL account and check the click analytics to see if you've had any actual click-throughs to the Tumblr account, and then you can get a better idea of whether that's something that you want to point directly at your money site. But I would do something like that where you're running a test like that to one of your branded profiles, so you're still potentially running traffic back into your funnel anyways, right? You're bringing them into your branded network anyways, and I'm talking from a traffic standpoint, but also from SEO, you'd still be pushing juice back into your Tumblr account or WordPress or Blogger, it doesn't really matter. But you could do that as a test, and then if it seems to be working well with no sort of side effects, negative side effects that is, then you could go ahead and reconfigure the retweets to point directly to your money site. That's what I would do. That'd be a worthy test. If you end up doing that, please share your results with us, because I'd like to know. This must be Hernan's cousin or something.
Yeah, mine is with 2Z. Hey, Tim. What's up?
I know, I was just teasing. Tim says, love your stuff. Okay, here is a question I may know the answer to, but I am not afraid of public or private ridicule. Okay, but here goes. I've got about 15 PBNs and videos for a local client, and I want to use IFTTT. Do I have, not yelling, just crabbing, okay, do I have to make individual IFTTT accounts for every PBN? Or is there a shortcut I can use? I'm just dreading making up a bunch of tiered accounts for every one of them. I had VAs for a while. Thanks again. I really appreciate what you and your staff do to help people. Tim, that's a good question. What I recommend doing is not tiered networks for PBNs. I don't even recommend really doing tiered networks for websites, period, unless it's if you've only got one or two or just a very small handful of sites that you're managing. Again, I always recommend sticking with just a branded network for each site. And in your case, because you're talking about 15 PBNs, that's a lot of sites that you're managing, and I'm assuming you're managing more than just PBNs. So in your case, I would recommend that you just stick with branded networks for each PBN. Remember, a PBN can and should be its own brand, right? Because that's how you make it look as real as possible, is you make the blog itself seem as if it's a brand, or potentially somebody's personal blog, which would be personal branding at that point. So my point is that with each PBN that you have, you should give it either assign a persona to it and make it that persona's personal blog, so that it seems like a real blog that's themed, right? So it's it's got a particular theme or topic that it blogs about consistently, and then you brand the network for that, or you give it like an actual brand name for the PBN that again is topically relevant to whatever industry you're in. And then put the IFTTT that is an extension of that brand. So in other words, all of the IFTTT properties will be branded to match the blog's brand. So you can do it either way, but again, it's just a single ring for each, as opposed to doing multiple tiered rings, because the management of that would be a bit cumbersome, and really it's not really, it's not efficient. It's not something that you would want to maintain for long. Trust me. All right. Is there a shortcut that you can use? Yeah, you can hire us to build your networks. That's a good shortcut. I certainly don't recommend you doing them on your own. If you got client money that's coming in from that particular project, then you should have a particular budget set aside anyways from whatever the client is paying you to reinvest, to maintain their rankings, to provide services, and then funnel some of that budget to either hiring your own VAs or hiring perhaps us or somebody to build your networks for you.
15 networks. I think we can give them a $1 discount.
Yeah, probably. Bulk
if you contact support, we might be able to talk to you privately.
Yeah, if you have any questions, Tim, you can contact us for like pre-sale support if you had any questions about that. But guys, like for example, client work for me, I'll take as much as about 40% is what I usually figure on whatever my monthly fee is for client work. I usually take about 40% and reinvest that back into you know, maintaining their SEO for either paying VAs to do work for them or, you know, services, including that includes, you know, the tools and things like that that I use. But so 40%. So if I'm charging somebody $1,000 a month, then I expect it's going to take about $400 a month of that revenue generated to reinvest back into keeping, you know, maintaining their rankings or getting them to where they need to be. So that's just kind of like my rule of thumb. Sometimes it's a bit higher than that. Sometimes it's a bit lower. Once I get people ranked, I obviously don't have to continue spending 40%. I can actually reduce that to where more of that money is going in is coming in as profit. So that's just kind of a rule of thumb I use. It might be different for you guys. I'm just letting you know my particular method. Jamina, I hope I'm saying that right. Hello guys, thank you so much for answering my questions. I built 3 branded networks and I just finished creating the last of 3 persona networks. Okay, I want to use these personas around my branded networks. Can I connect all 3 personas to all 3 branded networks? Please tell me if this is correct. I connect a Blogger, Tumblr, and WordPress blogs from my personas to my branded networks. It's a bit confusing reading. Networks, Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress blogs, right? I do this by connecting them in my IFTTT account using each of my blogs' RSS feed or YouTube channel. My RSS feed or YouTube channel recipe would trigger my networks and also my persona networks through their Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress feeds. All right, so the first question I would have is why would you have 3 branded networks unless it's for 3 separate money sites or money channels if they're YouTube networks? I can't imagine, and maybe that's what you have, but it almost sounds as if you've got 3 branded networks for one trigger source, which could be either a blog, you know, a website, your money site, or a channel. And if that's the case, I would say that's a no-no. Don't do that. You know, you should only have 1 branded network per money property. Right? So whether that's a YouTube channel or a money site, you should only have 1 branded network for it. Now, if it is for 3 separate sites or 3 different channels, 3 different money properties, let's put it that way, because that's kind of a catch-all, right? Then if you have 3 persona networks, I'm assuming you're talking about 3 rings. Typically, there will be 3 tier 2 rings per branded network, per tier 1 ring. However, if they're all 3 in the same topical category, right? They don't have to be, you know, really niched down. It could be just kind of more of a general theme. If all 3 of the money sites, in this case, all 3 branded networks, because there's 3 money properties, are in the same ballpark neighborhood as far as relevancy or topic, then you could share that tier 2 ring or those 3 tier 2 rings with all 3 of your tier 1 rings. You could do that. That's not a problem. It would require a ton of recipes in each IFTTT account for the tier 2 properties, because, for example, your tier 2A, which would be fed by the Blogger account, anybody that doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about, you'd have to look at the diagrams for tiered networks to understand what I'm saying. But if you have a tier 2A network, that's fed by the tier 1 Blogger. So if you're going to feed tier 2A from 3 tier 1s, 3 separate tier 1 networks. So you're going to have essentially, let's say there's 15 recipes that you create inside of that tier 2 IFTTT account to trigger those. You're going to have now 3 sets of 15 recipes. So you're going to have 45 recipes, right? They're all going to be RSS2 recipes, and it's going to be from tier 1, the first tier 1 branded network. Then you complete all those recipes inside of that. Then you set up the tier 2, or excuse me, the second tier 1 branded network to feed that same network. I know that may sound a bit confusing, but my point is that that's, you know, that would be pretty much a massive IFTTT account. Doesn't matter; it'll still work. You can do that. You know, again, I only recommend that you do that though. The branded, the tier 2 networks, you only share them with other tier 1 networks if it's in the same topical category. If they're separate, then you're going to want to create separate tier 2 networks for each one, because that's kind of the whole point. And by the way, if you're going to be using tier networks for money sites instead for YouTube channels, guys, I know I repeat this all the time, but I think some people might not hear it, or it gets lost at some point, you forget, whatever. But if you're doing YouTube networks, it's okay to have tiered networks, and you don't have to worry about related content feeds. But if you're doing tiered networks for blog syndication, then just make sure that you have additional content triggers on your tier 2 networks, so that you're using related content sources to post additional content other than your money site content to it. So in this particular example, if you're trying to use one tier 2 network, say 3 rings, for 3 tier 1 properties, and if they are all blog syndication, now you're going to need related content feeds for your tier 2s as well. Now you're talking about like 60 recipes at a minimum per IFTTT account on your tier 2. Again, it could be done. It's just a bit of it could be a bit of a pain in the ass to set up. So, was that as clear as mud, guys? You all understand that?
No, that was clear to me. I got it.
Good. Yeah, as far as let's see. Let me see if I can pull up something real quick that we can share.
I also posted in there the support links to the tiered networks and how the RSS feeds have been updated for YouTube. So we've already got that up there on the event
So
page.
you're talking about this one here?
Yep.
Okay, very good. Well, there you go.
Well, I've got another one, but I'll put, if you want to pop that one in too, I did one of the other. There's a couple different ones we've got.
Yeah, because this question comes up often. So I'm going to drop this in Slack, Adam.
Sounds good.
Grab that. And guys, I've beat this horse to death over and over again because it comes up. I know it sounds confusing, guys, but remember, my easiest way to explain this, guys, is just remember that IFTTT, it's very linear. It's step 1, step 2. It's not, even though we start stacking networks or creating tiered networks and things like that, it's always cause and effect. It's always step 1, then step 2. If this, then that. And everything that we do, it can be broken down into single syndication rings, because that's all we do, guys. Everything that we do are just single syndication rings. It's just a matter of how we assemble those syndication rings together. Okay, so if you think about it that way, it really becomes a hell of a lot more clear. It might take you a few minutes to wrap your head around that idea, but seriously, it's just a single. Everything is just a single IFTTT ring. It has one trigger point, and then 15 or so action points from that one trigger. And
Hey, Bradley, can I jump in on this for a second?
Go ahead.
I'm thinking the best thing for people to do, just to avoid all this confusion, build one branded network around a money site. Go from go through the training, and I mean step by step. Don't skip anything, right? And then do one that's tiered for YouTube syndication or video distribution, right? So once you get those, and once you build all of the recipes, and once you get it to where you know exactly what triggers what and how everything works, then you can start playing this way, because you know the work that's involved, how the recipes have to be done, how everything changes, whether you're doing a money site, whether you're doing YouTube video distribution. I mean, you could have multiple tiered networks if you're working subdomains, right? It depends on how you're doing it, how you're tying the branded networks around your syndication networks. But you have to do that first one right before you start playing around and move things around, because you can get into a lot of trouble this way.
Yeah, I'm looking for this post. Yeah, I agree with what Marco just said. Shit, I was looking for this post that I just saw earlier today in here that I told her to post on the events page, and she doesn't have any text here for the question. So, Chris G, if you're watching, can you locate that post, man?
I think if you click on it, it comes up. Try clicking on the picture.
Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. All right, well, let me do this. Let me just move this text into the comment area so that I can see it from this page here. Got it. Okay, so I'll get to that one in just a moment. All right, Robin Jr., is your YouTube Silo Academy course still works? Yes, it does. I just watched one of your recent videos on YouTube, and you said to Dan you won't prefer to rank YouTube videos, so this is what arose the question. Okay, I'm assuming that you won't prefer. I'm not really following the question. Does YouTube Silo Academy still work? Yes, it does. It's just a way to create silo structure within YouTube, and it absolutely works. It works well. So, yes, I'm not sure what you're saying there, But yes,
Maybe part of a conversation or something like that, but we may have been talking too about, ranking a website over a video or something, but in
yeah.
general, we definitely still rank videos, and then siloing and using that type of setup definitely works.
Yeah, and for like local lead gen guys, videos are a great place to start. But if you find a niche that's profitable, that you're able to monetize your leads because you're generating leads in a particular niche, then I always highly recommend that you also rank in a local website. And video is a great place to start. And some people, that's all they want to do is videos, and that's cool. That's great. I completely get that, because ranking websites is a lot more complicated than ranking videos for the most part. But what I do say is, anytime that you find a niche that's profitable, that you're doing well with, you're generating leads, you've got somebody purchasing the leads from you, so it's generating revenue for your business, then I recommend that you always, if you have the desire to, is to build a local site as kind of a companion to help with your leads and capture more leads, because now you can rank organically in the search results with your video, your website, and you can also rank in maps with the local map site. That's what I was talking about. Maps, for me, in the construction industry or the home services industry, maps account for about, I would say, 80% of all leads generated from my lead gen business. Videos are a good starting point, and oftentimes I will rank in maps, or I'll start with video, and then once I find something that's generating leads, I'll build a maps, a website, and rank it in maps. And then most of my leads come from the maps themselves. So that 3-pack, or what they call the snack pack, which I think is a stupid name, but from the 3-pack, that's where most of the leads come from. And that's and again, that's in the home services industry or the contractor industry. So it may be different in other industries, but that's why, like I said, there's nothing wrong with videos. It's a great starting point. In fact, if you end up doing in maps, you can have a maps ranking, a listing map ranked in maps. You can also have a video ranking, and also in the website ranked in organic, plus some of your citations. So like Yelp, Yellow Pages, Angie's List, all those different things, you can end up ranking some of those as well. So all I'm saying is, once you find something that's working, that you've got money coming in from, you can scale it, and that's the way you do it. That's the way I do it anyways. Okay, the next question from Robin was, hey, I watched both the sales video of RYS Academy, a.k.a. the SEO Time Machine, and IFTTT SEO Academy, but it's still a bit confusing. Could you please let me know what the difference between RYS Academy is and IFTTT SEO Academy? Yeah, there's a big difference. IFTTT SEO Academy is the foundation of what we do for our SEO, whether it's YouTube or video SEO or for website SEO. It's something that we do. I think it's absolutely critical to have branded networks as part of like your just any type of SEO campaign now, because of us being in the Web 3.0, the semantic web, whatever you want to call it. And brand and authority is so important. As Marco had recently done a post on the death of the PBN, which is coming at some point. There's what they call seed sets and all that. There's a lot of stuff that I don't have time to go into all of it, except that I can say that IFTTT SEO Academy is rather inexpensive comparatively to RYS Academy, and it is a great foundation or starting point. RYS Academy, however, is a way to use Google's own properties in to your advantage, and to do some pretty cool things with it. We've got some case studies inside RYS Academy that show how we've used Google's own properties to rank and to rank, on page 1 for various keywords. We've also used them to manipulate trust flow, topical trust flow. It works really well for maps, manipulating maps rankings. I was able to take a local site to #1 in maps using nothing but RYS Academy methods. There's a lot of things that we teach inside of that, but it's specifically for setting up SEO campaigns using Google's own properties. And it also includes Twitter SEO Academy in that, because that's kind of part of the process. So I would suggest, if you're just starting out, IFTTT SEO Academy would probably be best. If you're just starting out, if you already have some knowledge of SEO and everything else, you're a bit more advanced and you want to get into something that's quite unique, then RYS Academy is a good way to go. Anybody want to do another explanation on that so they get it from a different angle?
If IFTTT SEO Academy is the hammer and Google is the nail, then RYS Academy would be a jackhammer. It's so much more fun to hammer away at Google that way.
That's a good analogy. All right. Hernan, or should I move on?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. I think Marco nailed it
Yeah.
on the head.
Did he hit the nail on the head, Hernan?
I think he did.
Jackie's question. Okay, so you respond the following. In my personal opinion, no, I wouldn't create two branded networks, as that would get confusing. Let's see. The dedicated YouTube network I would have unbranded persona, and the blog network I would have branded. I would just say whether to create two Gmails is a judgment call. She's quoting me apparently. You could always use the Outlook address to register another set of accounts instead. So I created my blog money site with my branded network. It will obviously use the RSS IFTTT recipes. Now I am getting ready to build a network for my branded YouTube channel. As you indicated, it will use an unbranded persona for the network. So the question is, how do I connect the 2.0's Tier 2 persona network to the branded YouTube Tier 1? Okay, Jackie, that's a valid question. The same way that you would for any type of Tier 2 network, the Tier 2 networks are always triggered the same way. They're triggered from the Tier 1 networks, RSS feeds, right? So, do we have a? As a matter of fact, we have it right here, don't we? Okay, yeah, this might look a little bit confusing because I had a bunch of notes on it, but the Tier 2 networks are always going to be triggered from the RSS feeds from the 3 blogging accounts on the Tier 1 network. So so what I'm saying is you have a Blogger RSS feed, that's going to trigger from your Blogger account from your Tier 1 network, whether it's branded or unbranded, doesn't matter, as long as it's your Blogger account from your Tier 1 network, right? That's going to have an output RSS feed. All of the blog platforms do, and some of the other web 2s do as well, like Delicious and Digo, for example. But you take the Blogger RSS feed and then you just set up using the RSS2 recipes, which are in the account workbook template, and you set up the Tier 2 recipes to be triggered via RSS using the Blogger RSS feed, right? For Tier 2B, it would be the Tumblr RSS feed that acts as the trigger. For Tier 2C, it would be the WordPress.com RSS feed as the trigger, right? So that's all it is. So even if you're using YouTube as your main trigger, your money trigger, it's going to trigger using YouTube 2 recipes, right? YouTube is going to be the trigger. Any new video uploaded to YouTube will trigger the syndication to your Tier 1 network, but then your Tier 1 network is going to use the RSS feed recipes to trigger your Tier 2 network. Remember, like I just said earlier in this very hangout, that everything is just a set of single rings. It's just a matter of triggers and actions, right? It's the only thing you have to differentiate is the triggers and actions, right? So the trigger, if it's YouTube, it's going to be YouTube upload as a trigger, is going to syndicate to your network. If it's an RSS or blog syndication network, it'll be a new post added to your blog, will update the RSS feed, or will insert that item into the RSS feed, and the RSS feed triggers the syndication. Well, Tier 2 networks are always going to be RSS triggered because they're going to use the RSS feeds from your Tier 1 blogger accounts or blogging accounts, Blogger, Tumblr, and WordPress as the triggers. Okay? So always Tier 2 networks, guys, one more time, always Tier 2 networks are triggered by the Tier 1 blog RSS feeds, okay, which are in this case Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress. All right? Okay, so in the interlinking on a specific 2.0, in the interlinking, question mark, on a specific 2.0, but my YouTube Tier 1 is already interlinked to my branded Tier 1 blog, there is no more space available. Besides, I am embedding the videos from my branded YouTube Tier 1 blogger or Tier 1 to my branded blog Tier 1. I'm not sure what you mean here. As far as the interlinking, like just, you know, select it. For example, on your, if you're looking at your Tier 1 network, you're going to be linking to, if it's Tier 1 network for your website, your main website for blog syndication, you're going to be linking to, interlinking as many properties as you can within the same network, right? But you're going to be linking the main website URL is going to be your main URL for within each profile. So, for example, if you set up a Google Plus page, you're going to link to your main money site as the website link, right? And then you'll have in the link section, you'll also link to all the other properties within the network. Same with tier 2. With your tier 2 networks, I will usually link to the blogger property because the blogger is the trigger. So your tier 1 blogger is going to be triggering that network. Well, I always use that blogger URL as the main money site URL for the tier 2 networks, right? Okay? Or you can use one of the tier 2 network properties. All I'm saying is don't overcomplicate this, Jackie. That part of it, the interlinking specifically, what's the most important part of that? Because remember, your links that are going to be pushing juice back to where you ultimately want it to, which would be your branded blog or your branded YouTube channel, that's going to come through from your syndication itself, right? So the actual profile links is not so important as the most important part of that is just to interlink the properties, to try to link all of them together in as many places as possible, because that's what builds that semantic hub, that authority, right? Remember, we're not hiding footprints here, guys. We're claiming footprints. And so, as far as the main the main URL to use for your across your profiles, don't worry about that so much. The only place that it's really the most important is on your money site, tier 1 branded property, or excuse me, tier 1 branded network. Is you want to link back to your main money site is your main profile URL for each one of those. But for everything else, don't really worry about it so much. Okay. I think that's a bit of an overcomplicated question. In other words, I think you're overcomplicating this when it's unnecessary to do so. That was a valid question about the first one, though. But just remember, on all tier 2 networks, they're always going to be triggered using RSS feeds from the tier 1 blogging accounts. Okay? Watch this, Jackie. Go through this. Go through it a couple times if you need to. It'll help you, I promise. Okay, hey guys, this is Paul Fussell. I just had these made up. I need to vote. I didn't watch them, but it looks like you got several other people just because we're short on time. Oh, they say it's only a few seconds long, so you know what? Let's see how much is a few seconds. 6 seconds isn't too long. Oh, he must be selling network services. By the way, Paul, you know you can buy them from us and resell them. Just saying. I like that one. What do you guys think? Can you all see it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Again, well, hold on. Go back. Lock it on your screen.
It should be locked on my screen, is it not?
No, I was seeing Hernan's face.
I don't know why. I've got it locked. It's locked on me.
All right, looks good now. Can you replay that one?
I like B. This is number 2 better. That looks pretty cool.
I like that graphic.
I don't know if you all can see that on your end, but I like that one.
All right, one more time, the first one.
Yeah, I like the second one.
Yeah,
this is more contrast.
I like the first one.
You do?
I like the second one so much I'm gonna curate it.
Yeah. I'm gonna steal it, Paul. I'm gonna download it and add it to my channel. I like number 2, Paul, or B, myself, but you know, Adam says number 1, so you choose which one you like. I think number 2. I like the contrast. It stands out more. In my opinion.
Fair enough. Solid videos though. I like them. Good intros.
Yep. And good job, man. You're out there. Apparently, you're going to be selling networks. That's it's a good thing. We encourage that. Ed Ryan says, "Hey guys, when using high PA age blogs in a new network, is it wise to do seed posts the same way we do on regular blogs, and then wait a bit before connecting my IFTTT?" Yes, Ed. Always. Always. That's just something we do to make sure that the sites don't get terminated by auto posting via IFTTT immediately. Even with aged accounts, I still recommend that you find whatever the blog is going to be about, that you're going to be feeding content to it, like whatever topic it's going to be about, is find. And guys, I just go to BuzzSumo, just like the training. It's all in the training, but just go to BuzzSumo, find a popular article. There's a lot of social activity in your particular industry or niche topic, whatever. Strip all the links out of it, repost it, except for perhaps one link back to the content source, which is what you should be doing anyways. But strip all the internal links out of the post and post it on that blog, and publish it on that like Tumblr account, for example, and then let it sit for a couple days, 3-5 days, something like that. And that I call it seasoning the sites. Okay. Any other suggestions to do this correctly would be much appreciated. That's it, Ed. Just follow those instructions that are in the training on that, and that's it. if you have a Twitter account, something or anything like that, that you could actually take the Tumblr URL, for example. I'm assuming you're talking about Tumblr here because usually that's the only people, the aged PA, high PA blogs that you buy. Let's just assume it's Tumblr. If you, once the post has been published, if you take the Tumblr URL, the post URL, and like tweet it out, something like that, where you can get a little bit of potentially social activity to it as well, that's going to help. That'll kind of help safeguard it from getting terminated as well. That's not something that's required. It's just something that if you're building, I think Ed, I think you're building everything out manually, then it's just an extra step that you can do that's going to kind of help it out some, help to get it indexed too. Daniel says, hey guys, there have been discussions regarding or suggesting we use our Twitter channel as our main feed and set up a set of IFTTT recipes which post our tweets out to all our Web 2.0 properties. I don't know where that discussion came from, Daniel. Daniel, are the Twitter recipes something additional to the standard RSS triggered recipes that we should be using? How exactly should we be using Twitter-based recipes in conjunction with a regular approach? Just trying to get an understanding, or just trying to understand whether or not there have been any changes along these lines by you guys, or if we stick with the same formula. Okay, Daniel, stick with the same formula. IFTTT, SEO, the networks are for blog syndication or YouTube syndication. However, you can also use Twitter to syndicate tweets. Don't recommend, personally, I don't like to syndicate, to use my branded network for a Twitter syndication network. I build a second or supplementary network for the Twitter account, and then have the Twitter tweets with using the embed tweet recipes to post my tweets out to a supplemental network. That's all covered again in the Twitter SEO Academy. That's not something that is part of the IFTTT SEO training, and there's a reason for that, because it's kind of it's a supplementary or an additional thing that you can do, but it's not required. It will help you in various ways, bring trust flow, increase trust flow and stuff like that. But again, all of the questions that you're asking here are covered inside of Twitter SEO Academy. As far as the IFTTT approach, stick with the training that we have and use your blog or your YouTube channel as your syndication trigger for your branded network. I don't recommend that you feed your branded network with tweets, because in my own opinion, we had this discussion, this exact question came up within the last 2 weeks in Hump Day Hangouts, and we talked about it. Personally, I don't like to have tweets embedded across my branded network. I like to use a supplementary network for that. Okay. I guess it depends. I think Marco chimed in on this the last time, and I think it was it depends on what kind of tweets. If you're in something that's got a lot of pictures and images and things like that, then it would be fine to do that, because the image gets embedded as well with the tweet. But for a lot of stuff that I work in, a lot of the industries that I work in, it just doesn't really look right so I set up a secondary network for Twitter syndication specifically that will basically syndicate the branded tier 1 Twitter account tweets to another network, and it just adds some additional juice. All right, Twitter SEO Academy once again. Kenny says, I do SEO for a large and successful e-commerce website. We've seen some great results with rankings. Some of our most targeted keywords, however, seem to be stuck at the bottom of page 1, top of page 2. I have a branded IFTTT network. We update the site with news 2 times a week and a podcast once a week. I'm going to +1 that, because content marketing, you're doing good. And we do regular outreach. We have some great high authority links. What would you guys do from this point on to move these keywords up from the bottom of page 1 or the top of page 2? Good question, Kenny. I would continue, and what I would be doing is trying to build additional links, just really clean links. I mean, something that I'm doing a lot of right now that works really, really well is buying, kind of like building my own link networks, not their typical PBN stuff, but like buying 100% relevant expired domains that that have topical relevancy, and getting them just for the cost of registration. This would be a good point to drop the blue chip backlinks link, because that's the tool that we're using. We've done a demonstration on it for the mastermind as well as the master class, and that's what I've been doing a lot of recently. On top of everything else that we already teach, I've been building 100% topically relevant link networks to sites that need that additional push, and I'm seeing huge gains with just a handful of additional links. And so that might be something that you can try if you're in a really competitive space. It might take you more sites to do that, but it's really powerful when it works and it's cheap. Like for example, I've been buying SAP links for a long time now, a year and a half, and I've been spending hundreds of dollars per month on SAP links because I usually use a third-party provider so that I don't have to do all the research myself, and they work, and that's why I've been using them. However, I spend hundreds of dollars per month on subscription services for that, whereas I can go out and purchase hundreds of dollars per month worth of domains for a yearly registration fee, set them up, and now over the course of 4 or 5 months I can completely eliminate my SAP subscriptions and save hundreds of dollars per month, because once I set up the networks, they're done and I get the same results. And also they'll pass the manual review for the most part if somebody were to look at my backlink profile, because I'm getting links from, instead of hacked SAP links, I'm getting links from 100% topically relevant websites. So that's my personal suggestion. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, well, if that's the case, then you can always find the route to do it yourself SAP. I mean, it's not advisable if you do not want to dive into SAP, but it's also cheaper, so that's another option. Just in case you want to go for the do-it-yourself route.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, for Kenny, I mean, again, I would just, if you're doing, because it sounds like you got your content marketing, a consistent schedule going, that's doing well for you. So there's not really a whole lot of improvement you can do there. Sometimes you just need a bit more SEO power, and referring domains. The number of referring domains is still an important SEO metric. And so that's something that maybe you can do, is just continue to build additional links, getting for example, guest posting on places would help. That usually requires a lot of outreach and stuff like that. That's a pain in the ass. Sounds like you're doing some of that already. So I would supplement what you're already doing with building some of your own link networks. Just be careful. Make sure you're hiding any potential footprint. Only buy domains that have 100% topical relevancy that matches whatever you're linking your money site, the topic that you're linking to. And you'll see some significant gains from doing that. It doesn't take a whole lot. Again, it depends on how competitive is the industry you're in, but for a lot of the stuff that I do, it doesn't take a whole lot to see significant results.
That, they can also look inwards too. It just doesn't say on here. I'm sure that they've looked at their own site, but take another look. Is there anything you could optimize on your own site?
Yep. All right, we got time for one more, which is Caesar's, and then we're done. If a client has multiple locations with a page for each location on their new site, would I need to create an IFTTT Tier 1 for each location, or would I create an IFTTT to the homepage? Just the homepage, Caesar. That's what I do. I mean, if it's really competitive, then you could essentially do a different one for each location, but you don't have to. I mean, I've got one of the tree service sites that I have has got about 10 locations now, all as subdomains, and they share one Tier 1 branded network. All 10 locations do. And I rank really well for that site in just about every location. Some locations aren't ranking as well as the others, but for the most part, I'm doing really well. I'm in the 3-pack for, I think, 80% of them, 8 out of 10. So, and that's all sharing one IFTTT ring. Okay, so I don't overcomplicate it. Again, do the bare minimum required, guys, to get the results you need. So start off with one IFTTT ring for the entire site. It doesn't matter if you have multiple locations or not. Just consistent. Remember, the key here, guys, is consistent publishing. Updating it often. Publish content regularly. Okay, then track your results. If you start getting good results, then you don't need anything else. If you are still stuck after, and don't publish 2 posts and say it didn't work. Okay, you got to get on a consistent posting schedule like what Kenny's doing, where you're publishing regularly. Over time, give it a few weeks, 6-8 weeks of consistent publishing, 1 or 2 posts per week. Track your results. You should see significant improvements. If you do not, then possibly you might want to consider doing another ring, one for each location. And again, you're still going to need to continue to post regularly. Okay. What would be the fastest way to power up the Tier 1 properties? Just build links to them. Just be careful building links to your Tier 1 properties. You don't want to spam those. You want to keep it clean between spam and your Tier 1. So just do a layer of high, decent quality links. You could do a lot of, you could use tools. You could use a link building service that we offer, which, by the way, we're kind of reconfiguring those once again. We've got a solution for that. We'll talk about that more next week. Press releases. You could do some decent quality PBN runs. You could build your own link networks, just like what I was talking about, Kenny, to Kenny here. Okay. Should you wait for the tier 1 accounts to season before spamming them? No, not really. Just don't spam them. Don't, try to treat your tier 1 properties, guys, almost as well as you treat your money site, because you don't want to burn them. You know what I mean? Like, that's why we recommend that you use something like press releases or Web 2.0s with decent quality, not like real shitty spun text and everything pointing to the tier 1 sites. Once you've got those tier 2 links pointing to tier 1, then you can spam those. But recommend that you try to keep your tier 1 the links to your tier 1 properties a bit clean, so that you're not burning them, right? Because Google is essentially looking out 2 layers deep now. So I just try to keep, especially your branded properties, guys, just keep them really clean, as clean as you can.
All right, we gotta wrap it up and get over to masterclass.
Masterclass it is, guys. Thanks for being here. We'll see everybody next week. Masterclass members, we'll see you in just a moment, and we have Mastermind tomorrow too, in case anybody didn't know. So.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.